Imagine waking up tomorrow and scissors no longer exist. No barbershops, no electric clippers, no razors, no fancy hairstyles. Your hair keeps growing, your beard gets longer, and the only tools humans have are rocks, fire, and pieces of sharp metal. So, how would you cut your hair? Would ancient humans just let their hair grow forever? Would they pull it out? Would they burn it? Or did they somehow discover ways to style themselves thousands of years before the first pair of scissors was ever created? The answer is much stranger than you think, because cutting hair is not just something humans did for appearance. It was connected to survival, identity, religion, social status, and even power. Long before salons existed, before mirrors were invented, and before anyone said the words, "just a little off the top," humans were already finding creative ways to control the hair growing from their bodies. And some of the methods they used were so extreme that modern barbers would probably refuse to try them. So how exactly did humans cut their hair before scissors? The story begins not in a modern salon, but thousands of years ago, when the only tools available were made from stone. The earliest humans did not have scissors. They didn't have metal blades. They didn't even have a concept of professional hairstyling. But they had a problem. Human hair never stops growing. Unlike many animals that shed their fur naturally, human hair can continue growing for years. And for early humans, extremely long hair was not always convenient. Imagine hunting through forests with hair constantly covering your eyes. Imagine running from predators while your hair gets caught in branches. Imagine trying to survive in hot environments while carrying a thick layer of hair on your head. Hair was useful, but too much hair could become a problem. So humans started experimenting. One of the earliest methods was surprisingly simple. They used sharp stones. Stone tools were some of humanity's first inventions. The same technology used to cut meat, scrape animal hides, and create weapons could also be used to cut hair. Early humans discovered that certain rocks, especially flint and obsidian, could break into extremely sharp edges, sharp enough to slice through animal skin, and sharp enough to cut human hair. But there was one problem. Using a sharp rock near your head required incredible patience. A single mistake could mean cutting yourself. There were no barber chairs, no mirrors, no second chances. Just a person carefully dragging a sharp stone across their hair. And somehow, humans mastered it. But rocks were not the only strange tool humans used. Some ancient cultures discovered another method: fire. Yes, humans used fire to control their hair. Now, before you imagine someone standing there with a flaming torch near their head, it was usually much more controlled. Certain groups used burning techniques to shorten hair, remove unwanted hair, or shape hairstyles. Fire was already an important part of human life. It cooked food, it provided warmth, it protected communities, and eventually, humans discovered it could also modify their appearance. But why would anyone choose fire instead of cutting? Because fire had one advantage. It could remove hair quickly, especially body hair. In some ancient societies, removing body hair was connected to cleanliness, rituals, and social expectations. Ancient Egyptians, for example, were famous for their obsession with grooming. They removed body hair, shaved their heads, and often wore wigs, not because they hated hair, but because appearance represented civilization and status. A clean, carefully maintained appearance showed that someone had wealth and time. The poorer you were, the less likely you could maintain these grooming habits. Your hairstyle could literally tell people where you stood in society. Many people assume scissors were one of humanity's earliest inventions, but they actually appeared surprisingly late. Before modern scissors existed, humans created something called shears. Ancient shears were not like the scissors we use today. They were basically two sharp blades connected by a flexible piece of metal. You squeezed them together and they cut. The earliest examples appeared thousands of years ago, especially in civilizations that mastered metalworking. The Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans all developed advanced grooming tools. The Romans especially transformed haircutting into an important part of daily life. Barbers became respected professionals. They cut hair, they shaved beards, they cleaned nails, they performed basic medical procedures. In fact, the barber profession became so connected with medicine that the famous barber pole eventually came from this history. The red and white stripes represented blood and bandages from old surgical practices. But even with better tools, haircuts were still very different from today. There were no electric clippers, no hair dryers, no styling products. Every haircut required skill and precision. A mistake could not simply be fixed by opening an app and searching how to grow hair faster. Here is the interesting part. Humans did not start cutting hair only because it was annoying. Hair became a language, a way to communicate without speaking. A person's hairstyle could reveal who they were, where they came from, their beliefs, their occupation, their age, and even their power. For example, warriors in some cultures had specific hairstyles designed to intimidate enemies. Religious groups sometimes shaved their heads as a symbol of devotion. Kings and nobles created elaborate hairstyles to show wealth. Even today, hairstyles carry meaning. A military haircut communicates discipline. A traditional hairstyle can represent culture. A dramatic haircut can represent change. The human obsession with hair is not new. It has existed for thousands of years, because hair is one of the easiest ways humans can transform how others see them. Throughout history, humans have created hairstyles that seem almost impossible today. Ancient Egyptians created detailed wigs made from human hair and plant fibers. Some wealthy Egyptians had entire collections of wigs for different occasions. The Romans had hairstyles so complex that wealthy women needed professional hairdressers. In medieval Europe, hairstyles could represent social rules and religious beliefs. During certain periods, people created enormous hairstyles that required hours of preparation. Some hairstyles became so large that people needed special furniture just to sit comfortably. Hair was never just hair. It was fashion, it was politics, it was identity, and sometimes it was a battlefield. But why are humans so obsessed with something that is basically dead cells growing from our skin? Because hair affects how we perceive ourselves. Our brains are extremely sensitive to faces and appearance. A small change in hairstyle can completely change how someone looks. That is why a haircut can feel like a fresh start, a new identity, a new version of yourself. Ancient humans understood this thousands of years ago. Even without modern technology, they knew something important. Changing your appearance could change how the world treated you. So before scissors, before electric clippers, before modern barbershops, humans were already cutting their hair. They used stones, they used blades, they used fire, they created tools, they invented traditions, and they turned something as simple as hair into one of the most powerful forms of human expression. The next time you sit in a barber's chair and hear, "Same style as last time," remember, that simple haircut connects you to a story that began thousands of years ago. A story of creativity, survival, culture, and one of humanity's oldest questions. How do we want the world to see us? Because long before humans learned how to cut hair, they learned that hair could tell a story. And that story was always worth shaping. If you enjoyed discovering one of history's forgotten mysteries, make sure you subscribe because there are hundreds more hiding in plain sight.